if everything goes well, this is why we don't let me in charge of things. Obviously, I touched the incorrect button on the keyboard there. Everything decided to explode, but we are back, hopefully. Yes?
Yes. I know we had the do it live attitude, but, you know, some things can't go wrong. That's fine, though, of course. And that's, you know, it'll be fine.
No, we were just talking about qualifying for LPL.
To make through, yeah.
Yes.
So it seems like the teams that have already come through, based on what I was watching over the weekend and, of course, casting on Friday as well, pretty standard, expected results, I think, for the 3 teams that are already through to the LPL and get added to that expansion tournament.
Yeah, pretty much the only surprise was Young Glory not requalifying like World Elite Academy, and in fact World Elite Academy, you know, dropping that initial game against Gamtee. But of the last 2 teams, I mean, it's sad to say, but I feel like the winner between DK and Gamtee are pretty much vying to be last place in LPL.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate where it's like, well, you know what, I'm glad we made it, but it's going to be tough, and then the other team's like, we didn't make it. I guess we'll try again next time. It's always funny as well, because, you know, you qualify, you go through, you play in the LPL, you drop out, and you're like, oh yeah, things are going to be fine, it's all good, and we'll try again next time. And then it's like, oh, expansion tournament. I think so many teams around the world are like, yes, a new, like maybe a new lease on life, a chance to requalify, a bigger league for us to play in, which is always a good thing. To be the last team, to be the first team to not make it is not the honor you really want, unfortunately. Both these teams absolutely want to win and rush through and take this best of 3 however they see fit. And from what we've seen so far on the weekend, it's going to be quite aggressive, as per usual, in the LPL.
It's actually really curious, too, because Gamtee as a team coming into the tournament, they weren't known for their aggression, but of course their series last game against World Elite Academy, when they did find success, it was because they got the early snowball going. Likewise, DK surprised a lot of people in the fact that they were able to last as long and weren't one of the first teams out. So it's almost like a 50-50 about what team's going to show up into this best of 3, because I think partly the reason why these teams are, you know, at this point haven't already qualified or on the cusp of disqualifying is because they're so inconsistent in what they deliver.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. A league is kind of interesting in that you obviously need to value consistency because you're playing for so long and so many games matter, but you can kind of figure that out over the, you know, 10 or so weeks that any given league is. So it's nice in some senses that teams really get a chance to learn what works and what doesn't work for their team, and hopefully they can win more than they lose, stay in the league, and continue playing League of Legends professionally wherever they are in the world. So yes, consistency is very important, but I think in a league you kind of get to learn that. But here, you only have one shot. It's a long qualifying tournament, but you know, it's not a 10, 12-week league that you can slowly earn your skills. So as you said, someone is coming back next season and is going to have to be like, we're qualifying this time. I do not want that experience again.
Likewise, and LPL actually isn't the only league that's expanding. Obviously, all of the surrounding regions are expanding from 8 to 10. LPL is expanding to 12, but likewise, LSPL, the secondary pro league of the Chinese region, is expanding from 16 teams. I think it's expanding possibly to 18 or 20. I'll have to double check on the numbers, but it's a massive league.
And I mean, almost in this sense, it's the team that loses might be fighting for first place in LSPL, which is, again, not where you want to be, but they'll at least have a chance there to fight in the secondary league as well. So it's great to see China, again, embracing esports. It has a long storied history in esports. But a lot of the teams that have come through have been successful in a whole bunch of different games across China's history. So it's no surprise to see that certain organizations are represented here still in the tournament, and of course all throughout the expansion tournament as well. But the best Chinese teams have looked the best because, as you said it, consistency. They've just always been good.
No, and you're absolutely right. And again, a big title for Chinese esports is always going to be Dota 2. A lot of these teams competing in the LSPL, you should notice their names. They should also have counterparts in Dota 2. A lot of history that goes back there. And it's funny too. I'm glad that we kind of covered on Dota 2 because we can make this little segue while we wait for the teams to get set up. Is this mentality that China has kind of refined its own style regionally as kind of the protect the AD carry or have these really strong AD carries. Obviously this has changed and kind of evolved and shifted over time, so we don't see so much of it. But China's still, you know, really well known for the AD carries. You got Uzi, you got Name, Wei Xiao, things like that. And they think that it started from Dota 2 and the mentality of protecting the super carry and that's how these players shifted over into League of Legends, carried across that play style, and how China kind of became into this region of having a completely different style than pretty much every single region that kind of subscribed to the Korean mentality.
Yeah, and it's super interesting as well because China, that's not just true for other MOBAs, that's true across lots of different games in China. China has always been a very internally focused esports nation, and so it's all inbred in the sense that they're just fighting each other. It's all the Chinese players and teams playing each other. And yeah, we get really funky stuff happening sometimes. That's why it's so much fun to bring Chinese League of Legends to well, because they really just do whatever they want. I casted LPL a year ago, which was a while ago now, and they were doing some crazy stuff then. It seems to have gotten even crazier now that you've kind of taken over the helm a little, Frostgrove. And so I'm excited for some shenanigans potentially tonight. And of course, just some great games of League of Legends in general.
I always love the excitement of this region. It's such a pleasure to cast, and now we're looking at Gamtee here on the side. I'm really feeling their jackets, although their top laner seems to have taken that one off.
What are you doing, man?
I know, right?
Combo breaker. It's all right. The coach will come over and be like, come on, man, you got to put your jacket on.
I think it's one of the coaches. I'm trying to remember for which team. It may be DK, actually, but he has like a horse sweater on, and I constantly see him come out in between games and like yell at his players, but he's like sitting there and he's got like ponies all over his sweater. I'm just like, man, come on. How can you take yourself seriously?
I'm sure that's a tactical thing. He's like, he wants to like tell the players he's serious with his tone and his attitude, but he wants to also make sure they're not too intimidated or frightened, and got some ponies just to kind of keep them all happy. I don't know. Yeah, there might be some mixed messages on the coaching stuff.
You gotta balance it out. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger comes out with like a Winnie the Pooh sweatshirt.
Oh man. I don't know how to feel about that. But yeah, maybe that's it. That's what they want to go. And of course, you do have a DK on the on your screen now as well, the other team here. And do you have an inkling maybe which team could potentially be favored here, or is it just going to be an absolute bloodbath? Because I assume both of these teams fought through the lower bracket here, because that should be our last matchup.
As far as today, because DK is coming off of a win, you have to think it kind of goes down into morale. So DK has already played today. They played in the very first set of today. Then we watched the last set that had Gamtee versus World League Academy. The fact that Gamtee, you know, just played, so they are a little bit more warm, but the fact that they don't have the morale behind them, they just, you know, lost their chance at LPL. They will get the second chance, but this is the last one, whereas DK survived, won their first set, got the break, got to watch Gamtee, and then immediately play against them. I think that's a very interesting set of circumstances to kind of lead into this game.
Yeah, that's true. And this tournament actually is really interesting because you mentioned best of 3, and you know it's such a big league like the LPL, and people are going to be like, "Hang on, what? That doesn't seem right." Best of 5 is the way to go, and I would agree generally. But this is a double elim best of 3, so it's kind of shaped out to be a very similar amount of games. So it is a long tournament for any team that tries to qualify for this league because that is so much League of Legends. I mean, it's been what, a whole weekend plus Friday, so 3 days worth of Chinese League of Legends that we've covered on the LPL end stream. And yeah, people have been playing a lot of League, and we've tried to get 4 teams through of 8, I believe. Yeah, there's a lot going on. These teams are probably kind of tired at this point.
These teams are tired. I know I'm tired. 3 days,
yes,
9 hours.
I'm sure you're tired.
We've had a gauntlet of casters come through and try to make this exciting for you guys. So thank you again to LPL Ian for allowing us this platform to broadcast. Thank you again, Pastry Time, for joining me on this broadcast.
No, thank you. Thank you and all the people from LPL. And it's been a pleasure to kind of come back to my roots a little here. And I just love the Chinese League of Legends. It's such a treat for a play-by-play caster. I think every play-by-play that ever gets to touch. And you were doing a bit of play-by-play too. I'm sure you experienced it where you're just like, what is happening? This is insane. I love it, and it's just so much fun.
It's just a lot of yelling, obviously, because there's constant action, especially from these LSPL teams.
That's actually an interesting point. I mean, maybe moving into the LPL a little bit as we're talking a lot about the teams that have now qualified into with the expansion tournament coming very soon to a close. This is the last best of 3, remember. Do you think maybe how are these teams going to fare because they were kind of coming from the secondary league? I mean, all the good teams in air quotes have already made it. They stayed in the LPL, they've qualified already. How do you think these guys are going to fare? Because as you mentioned, they're kind of starting at the bottom of the ladder in terms of LPL.
So what's really interesting about these qualification tournaments, the fact that LPL is expanding from 8 teams into 12, there's already been 2 teams from LSPL that were already given qualifications, and that's Snake and King. And Snake and King have a reputation that they're pretty much going to run over a lot of the LPL teams and kind of place in the top. So LSPL historically has had this this rumor and this idea that it's a very competitive league and breeds top-tier talent. But we are into picks and bans phase. Again, it's going to be Gamtee on the blue side, DK on your red side, Zillion and Jax already off the board.
Yeah, so remember we are playing on pretty much the post-Worlds patch, so the one that we no longer play on live, of course, but 4.18, I believe, if you want to get super specific. But Zillion very strong, Jack still good as well. Didn't see him banned out when I was casting, but Aurelia, that is a Chinese top lane I've ever seen, and she goes straight into the bin.
And this Jax is actually a target ban against DK's top laner. Do not want him to get a hold of that. Likewise, Gnar, although we've seen the Gnar Morgana counterpick in China recently.
Yeah, I heard about that on Friday, actually, and my heart warmed a little. That just sounds so awesome that the Chinese like, we have this problem with Gnar. He's really good. He's a great bully. He's really good against these tanks and these carries we like to play. We'll just play Morgana. I'm like, wait, what? how did you get to that next step? But hey, someone figured it out, and Na is going to get a ban. They're very strong champions. Syndra, another very strong, very safe, and very popular mid laner, will also be the last ban there for Gamtee.
Huge pickup for China. It started to leak around the world regionally now, but for a long time, Syndra was kind of the go-to mid laner in China. Everyone plays her.
Yeah, and there was, top LPL players, mid laners, sorry, that were known for their Syndra play and was banned constantly, as Rise was the last ban there as well. First pick now, of course, will be over on Gamtee's side, and they may just go for it. They will, in fact. It is Kha'Zix's time. Very standard, very safe, versatile jungler.
Likewise, on the other side, they are hovering the Maokai and the Jace. Maokai, a huge pickup for Chinese teams as well. The fact that Chinese teams typically, historically, they like to fight, so having a champion with such a hard engagement, with such a power spike for the team fight, and specifically through his ultimate, is massive.
Yeah, so we'll see what they go for. Plenty of options, of course, for DK as well. Just kind of looking through the bans. Nothing has really crept through here for me. Rengar, if the teams play it, is there as well. Merco, they will get locked in. A very, very common pick, especially on this patch, and a great Chinese champion as well. Jace also gets a lock in. And this is, for me, Maokai Jace, which we saw a ton of during Worlds, and we're still seeing now as we kind of move through League of Legends, kind of moving into our next season. Next year, it's just such an aggressive core, and you mentioned that Chinese teams love to fight. There is nothing better than speeding him out with acceleration gate and just telling him to jump on the carry.
You're absolutely right. The synergy with the acceleration gate and the Maokai is beautiful, especially as late game, as these towers start to go down and the map opens up. Chase potential is huge. And I expect, since this is the last set, the last chance to qualify for LPL, that we may get games that go 40, 50 minutes, because people don't want to blow a chance on something silly early.
Yeah, and I kind of like what Gamtee are doing here, actually. Janna, another champion that does fit well with the potential chasing team if you do want to play that. But, of course, now in the hands of Gamtee is their support. Very popular AD carry once upon a time and kind of getting a resurgence in China as well. Ezreal, who we mentioned, very safe against the Merco that does want to jump on his face. But Ezreal Janna, this is very old-school Chinese League of Legends.
So this was the patch that buffed the ratio on Ezreal's Q, so he is seeing a resurgence. He's always been a popular champion in China. Of course, this is the region known for the AD carry. They like the flashy AD carry players, but it does make sense. Ezreal is a little bit stronger. Corki's been played pretty much every single series. Very powerful champion, has the poke potential, has the great level 1 potential.
Yeah, Corki is just kind of the response to Lucian being so obscene for so long. And a very popular carry, neither picked or banned in this game, it's going to seem like, but Corki is just even more aggressive, if that's even possible, than Lucian, as we mentioned. Chinese seems love to get aggressive. Thresh the pairing there as well, so a nice strong dual lane. And we'll complete Gamtee's lineup very curiously, actually. Zed and Rumble are their last 2 picks.
So Zed into the Jace makes a little bit of sense. Jace isn't going to be able to take any sort of power spike early just because he's going to rush the tier. He needs a bit of ramp time, so the level 6 will definitely go over in favor for Zed there. Curious, up there he goes, I was going to say. Curious if he's going to go with the Ignite, if he's going to switch over to the Exhaust, especially because he's facing an Assassin. Does switch to the Exhaust. We'll see if their support also switch over there and they run a double Exhaust comp.
Exhaust is just such a good summon spell. I think it's something that people have started to figure out more and more, especially as we moved out of the World Championships and kind of, again, into this transition period. But kind of, in this case, especially for these players, they're still playing on a patch they know and love, and they've played a lot of, as Rengar was our last pick there as well. Against Assassins who have been so popular basically all year long, Exhaust is just a fantastic spell to have. It's almost not taken enough, in my opinion.
I completely agree, and we do see Thresh picking up the double Exhaust comp, especially against the Kha'Zix and Zed, so that does put a damper on Gamtee's power spikes.
And the Rengar kind of tying the room together nicely as well. I kind of mentioned Maokai Jace already, but one of my favorite calls in League of Legends, especially on this patch, is having the acceleration get and comboing it with the Rengar, who's already so good at jumping on people, locking them down with that ball if you've got the mechanics down, and you bet these teams will. It's just so hard to get away from Rengar Jace, and they've got Maokai in there as well to help things out.
You're absolutely right. The line damage and backline threat that this team has right now is disgusting. If you think any sort of small space, the Maokai is going to thrive in there because his ultimate will cover up pretty much the entire team, but likewise the acceleration gate, the Corki poke, siege potential is huge. DK has a great looking comp here.
Yeah, and I like the Thresh as well. Big playmaking support, very safe, super versatile, which is always good. It's good to have options. A lot of the strongest champions are good because of how many options they have, but Corki as well is a very fight-heavy comp here for DK. They just want to go in as often and as early as they can and just get aggressive with their picks. And this could be a bloodbath, as we almost always expect here in the LPL. But DK's comp I definitely like. Gamtee have some good champions, but I'm not exactly sure on the synergy. Rumble's that especially to me feels like a bit of an odd combo, but we are going to get to this game. DK on the right, on the red team to kick things off, and Gamtee on the left. And Proskeren, now that we've finished the draft, what do you think of these two different comps? So you said you like DK's. What do you think of Gamtee?
Gamtee, they do have the power spike for the dragon fight. Again, the fact that Jace takes time to ramp up because he needs to stack his tier. He won't have initial battle stats that early at level 6. Likewise, he doesn't find a power spike at level 6, whereas that's where Zed's going to get strong because he'll have his death mark. So expect Gamtee, if they really want to run away with this, they need to contest that initial dragon fight and take the power spike advantage for their composition. I do like the fact that they took an assassin backline like Zed with a self-sufficient AD carry like Ezreal. Their comp, because they have Kha'Zix and Zed who are going to immediately leap back and try to make that Corki and Jace disappear, there's no one around to peel for Ezreal, so having Janna, having Ezreal should make him pretty safe all on his own.
Yeah, a little bit of a rumble here, as that was a very unintentional pun. Just going to spot out some wards there as Marco will make his way back towards the top. So very defensive warding here. No aggressive movements for early vision or potential level 1s. Everyone just staying nice and safe and making sure they can protect their own halves of the jungle here.
Definitely shouldn't expect. I don't expect to see either team do something crazy, not only because Gamtee really doesn't have that reputation of being a crazy aggressive team, although we've seen them kind of switch that flip when they were facing Warlord Academy, but again, because this is their very last chance to qualify for LPL, they don't want to throw it away on an early snowball over something risky.
Yeah, and the thing about level 1s especially is that the best level 1s, and we see fantastic level 1s in China quite often, the best ones are very highly prepared and researched. I remember a game that I casted a long time ago now where I basically saw Tabe's team was Royal at the time. Just go through and in the first 2 minutes of the game, completely understand what was happening with the level 1 movements and just outplay the crap out of their opponents. So you can do level 1s, but you really need to be on top of your game. And as you said, risk is just not something that these two teams, especially in the opening game, want to be going for. But we do break down standard lanes to start things off here. L2 vs Corki is really interesting as far as I'm concerned. I think Corki favored in the early stages of the game, especially as far as aggression goes. Yeah,
the level 1 is always going to favor Corki, although what I do love here from Tail is that they're utilizing the Janna shield perfectly to counter the phosphorus bombs. So 2 phosphorus bombs have landed on Tail. I think he sidestepped one, but the other one was perfectly blocked by the Janna shield. And that's where Corki has a lot of his level 1 power spike. He'll start to slow down between levels 2 and then find another power spike at 6. But the Janna shield is really kind of what changes the course of this lane. That Ezreal Q on a Janna shield proc is really going to hurt.
Yeah, and I call this a classic Chinese duo lane. This is almost a really cool evolution. Sorry, excuse me. Tal's becoming quite aggressive. Hits level 2, dodging the hook there, so he'll be okay, but really poking him out. This is the aggressive evolution of a very old lane, Ezreal Sona, which was the Chinese standard for a long time, where it's just super poke, can get aggressive, but very flexible, and can just, if you can outplay your opponent, which Tail's doing a nice job early on, you can really get ahead.
And they really like to kind of stress, like you said, on the outplay, on the flashy plays, even some of the more reserved AD carries. Again, the AD carry, that's the big, you know, king of China position. They have the thrones right there. So Tail being pretty aggressive here. Speaking of aggressive,
actually,
Little White.
Yeah, Rengar just going in, wants to kind of get some stuff done. Kha'Zix, though, will get himself out. In fact, does not check. And we'll see what happens there, but it looks like he's just going to see what he can and maybe get some vision down as well.
This is important, though, because Kha'Zix did have eyes on Little White, so he knows that his jungle's warded, or he should at least assume it.
Yeah, it should do, but we're going to be okay. And as well, actually, Hook does land there on it. He's got to be careful. No play back. Exhausted go out, flashes out of the way. He should be safe, though, but Janna leaving that lane for a bit of pressure in mid lane almost gets Tail killed, and look at the setup. They're going to try. Nope, no one. Janna's actually walking. Oh, Janna, please. Oh, no, this is bad.
Oh.
No, you want to face check. There's the Rengar going in. So much burst, and first blood will go over to Jace. Nice camp there from DK.
He knew, too. So smart right there from DK to know that Janna was in mid lane, that she was going to have to go back to the bot lane, to just be patient and set up and wait.
Yeah, almost didn't do it as well. It was like, it feels scary. People are missing. Oh, whatever. They can't be. Oh, there they are.
But again, we were talking about, you know, the over-aggression, the overconfidence that got Tail killed right there. Or, excuse me, didn't get him killed, but forced him to burn his summoner, walking up to the 2v2 without his Janna, getting burned by the Flay.
Yeah, and it's just not something you can't ever afford to get thresh hooked. And you always feel like, especially as you're, oh, I can't get hooked, it'll be fine, as Lemmy actually going quite aggressive, just poking that Marco away. This is a super interesting lane, by the way. We haven't gotten there yet, but this goes up and down all the time. There are micro spikes everywhere in this top lane as they trade levels and items back and forth. So the first, like, levels 1 to 6 are really complex and really interesting. Well, unfortunately, we can't sit in top lane the whole time and watch it, but there are a lot of intricacies going there. But Rumble right now, especially at as he gets more levels, he's going to have a bit more of an advantage.
No, you're absolutely right, and we did see the kind of the rise of Rumble as an answer to Maokai during the Worlds tournament was when he really took off in popularity. But how it typically goes, Rumble finds a power spike at level 4 just because he gets enough points into his Flame Spitter. Maokai gets the advantage that each one of Rumble's slow prongs, although we do see DK possibly posturing for a gank here.
Actually a bit aggressive. Thresh though forced to flash, throws his lance out for the shield. Rengar trying to see some people down. John not quite focusing. There's a good lantern. We'll keep him safe, and Jay's going through with Zed. We'll get one kill. Can he chase the next? Thresh should be safe. No, great tornado. They're coming in. Ezreal just missing his Q though. Can't quite clean out the kill, and Jace does run enough defense.
And again, that entire fight was set up by that one ward right underneath the blue buff that allowed Gamtee to get in position for that. Again, Gamtee is known as being a really passive rotation-based team. They wait for the enemy to make a mistake and then capitalize on that. That fits credit to their MO.
I think that's actually really interesting as well, because we were talking about how China's a very internal esports nation and really evolve their own personal metagame just by kind of playing each other and having tournaments. But having a team that's much more rotation focused almost speaks to a new wave of Chinese players and teams that have maybe more of the Korean mentality that we're talking about. It's a lot more map and a lot more objective focus. So it's kind of interesting to see, especially as these newer teams move through, that maybe the playstyle is going to shift and we'll get a really interesting balance where suddenly people from all over the world are taking influences, and the Chinese scene, I mean, it's always been an interesting place as far as strategy and picks especially get developed. But we could see if this new team does break through, even more diversity and even more intrigue as the LPL moves on.
No,
and these guys are likely
right.
to be playing again.
And a big part of that, again, is the fact that LSPL has so many teams, 16 teams, and again, it
That's
is
so
expanding.
many, man.
Exactly. You have so many different kind of melting pot options coming in together and really identifying these very unique situations for these playstyles. So it would be really interesting to see Gamtee join the LPL. Likewise, it would be interesting to see DK. But we're already starting to see, like you said, the rise of different type of styles. China is still much about the team fight, but again, like tower diving is what they were known for a very long time. OMG sticks very traditionally to that, but we've recently seen Edward Gaming, of course, kind of on the rise, and they're not a very aggressive early base team, very much like Samsung Blue, very controlled pace. It's about controlling the Baron, stalling out the lane phase, waiting for the late game team fight.
Yeah, and as we are going to pop back into the game, it seems pause is over, so one of the players looks like they just had a small problem with their hardware, but it seems like it's all fixed up. Now it's Rumble again, level 6. Does have potential opportunity, and as you mentioned, Forrest Gurin is going to feel a little bit better in that top lane. But yeah, China's, I mean, I love that with every league in the world expanding, China is like, you know what, we can just make it bigger. We can do it a little bit bigger than everyone else. So I love that both their leagues are going to be expanding so much moving into next year.
And like you said, Rumble does have the advantage right now because he's got the levels into the Flame Spitter, and this is how it really works. So it's interesting for Maokai because each one of his harpoons will help proc Maokai's passive every time, because, you know, he gets the 2 of them, so he'll be able to get a little bit more sustain in the lane. That said, Maokai can never really twisted advance in on Rumble because he's immediately going to eat the flame damage, and it's pretty much super effective against that tree. I think that's how that works, right, Pokemon?
Yes, that's exactly like Pokemon is everyone else's favorite Pokemon. Gengar, I mean, Rengar was kind of popping his head into the top lane, but we'll see what happens here. Actually has to be careful. Rumble is one of the most dangerous champions to 2v1 in any situation, especially once he has his ultimate, but they're going to give it a go here. Rengar actually doesn't quite get the ball, instead reveals himself. I think missed the jump to a minion that he was looking for, and he'll kind of walk away with his tail between his legs.
Definitely a bit of a miscommunication with Banana, the top lane there for DK. I believe that Maokai should have committed first on the twisted advance, but gives away his positioning. Luckily, Kha'Zix isn't in any sort of position to punish that. He's just going to farm up his own white.
Yeah, and down the bottom, we're just kind of chilling. We'll check to see us across the board. Hook will miss there. Tail will dodge that one. 55-40 with Corki having a slight edge early. Nice and even in mid, about 50-ish apiece with a slight lead for Zed. Jungle's going well for both. They're kind of staying pretty even. Kha'Zix about a camp ahead, and Rumble really pulling ahead. We keep popping up to that lane and seeing an advantage. Looking like it's getting built. Hasn't shopped it with just the Dawn Shield in his inventory, but 66-39. Not even 40 yet for Banana, who's definitely struggling now in that top lane.
Definitely Maokai not having a good time, but we do see kind of a shift of power as far as the bot lane is concerned from early, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that Janna was the first blood, got caught out on the re-rotation back to her bot lane. Speaking of getting caught out, though, we do have a couple of action and a couple of pings going down in that river.
Yeah, it looks like they might be trying to set something up. Rumble also hanging out, but he's just kind of casually looking in the back. I wonder which item he's particularly waiting for, because he's clearly holding on to some gold here for an item threshold. So I'm curious to see what he wants to go for. Probably something like Haunting, guys. We'll see reasonably early on. But looks like all the action has kind of dissipated. Dragon not being contested yet, I believe, by either team. They haven't quite walked towards that Dragon with any sort of confidence yet. But still early in the game. Plenty of time for your standard Dragon timers to come through. Just looking through. Oh, man, that's a hook as well. That's definitely going to go down. Frost Respawn, but a beautiful Tornado, actually, will keep Tail safe.
Yeah, it was all about the counter engage on the Nader to hit Corki to make up for the engagement, but we do have Rengar now sneaking to the back of the lane, stealthed in.
Oh, but they see him. That ultimate notification, really smart reactions there from the bottom lane of Gamtee, and they'll get away again. Poor Rengar not finding any luck with his first 2 ganks.
That ultimate will be down. It is a relatively short cooldown, but that's a big window of opportunity missed right there. I feel like Gamtee kind of have to abuse the fact that Zed has his ultimate available right now, look for a possible roam, maybe make use of the fact that Kha'Zix has his ultimate, Rengar does not, so they can't get a counter gank stealth, at least. But they need to take advantage of the fact that Jace is just sitting on Brutalizer tier.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rumble did go to shop, does have himself boots, couple of wards, and that Haunting, guys, so looking really strong. Unfortunately, he couldn't get his wave in a position where it was resetting. His key's quite low. They're actually going to pop back in. Oh, man, he wants the pink wall, but he's put Kha'Zix in here as well. It looks like they will be able to get that safely. That was quite dangerous looking, but Zed will be okay now. But they couldn't get the Rumble to the Dragon, is what I meant, after he went back to shop. That would have been a perfect time to really start to get a foothold in this game.
I'm always curious when teams place the pink ward exactly in the middle of the brush, because if you place the pink ward on either end of the spectrum of that brush, you get sight of the entire thing. And by obviously placing it closer to your team's side, you can better defend it. By placing it in the middle right there, it kind of makes it for easy pickings.
And I like this by DK, actually. Rumble's kind of walking through the top jungle. In fact, he's going to pop his teleport. He wants to go in. They know what's happening, but can they get Test going to steal? He does get it, flashes out as well. And that's fantastic play from Gamtee. Now going to go back in. Let me getting low, but does pop the exhaust. Thresh falls to flash out, and Janna will reset with the Monsoon, but there's the first kill as Kha'Zix will slay Rengar. Now Janna getting taken out as there's another kill on Thresh, but Jace does answer with the kill onto Thresh himself, sorry, as now we're going to pop back over. Tail wants to make it big. Can he get one? There's Corki slaying Kha'Zix, but Ezreal trying to play cleanup here. Zed's going to get, no, he does get, in fact, that Corki kill, and that's going to be 4 for 2 right now. So DK don't get the Dragon and get themselves quite caught out there.
Gamtee, that was beautiful for them. So they steal the Dragon right there. It all really comes down to the equalizer. It was really well placed, but Kha'Zix having the stealth, initiating, elongating the fight. At first, it looked really strange that Gamtee would go back in and re-engage that as the Twisted Advance actually comes down on key. I think everyone's going to back off here. There's no way that they can go for a double objective on the tower. But the re-engage from Gamtee, it looked like they were just going to disengage, take the Dragon, and walk away. Here we do have the replay on your screen. But they know that Zed's coming. So the communication is beautiful, knowing that they can stall this out long enough to pick up these free kills. Because right now, this is a 3v4. Excuse me, 3v5.
Bit of an early box there as well, unfortunately, but Thresh wasn't quite able to convert, and this is just a mess at this point. Tail even joining the fight late, does pop his ult for a couple of stacks of Rising Spell Force, but this was just really well played around the pit by Gamtee. Kind of funneled DK in to a really unfavorable position, and then it's just clean up City from this point onwards.
Just
Zed as well, saving his ultimate so late.
And exactly, and then Shadow's back to try to catch up on Maokai, knowing that Corki's about to burst into flames.
Yeah. It's always nice as well. I think not enough Zeds appreciate that your ult tells you when they're going to die, and you can't account for like surprise health, like heal or any shield that our champion might give him. But you know, if you know there's nothing else up, they're dead. The game's telling you they are dead. Leave them alone. Oh man, Zed, that was not the friends you wanted to find. Actually gets killed right at his white camp. I am quite surprised. DK again camping that brush just above their river. They love that spot.
It is helping them kind of ease back into this game. They are still about 2k down despite being 1 kill. A lot of that is the global gold from the Dragon, but they're going to make it up with this tower. Again, the fact that the Dragon was taken so early, it was the first Dragon, it's worth just about the same amount of gold. Hold on though, in the mid lane, stealthed.
Yeah, Jace finding again some more friends, does flash out. He should be okay. As Maokai also getting aggressive. Pops a ward here as well, so he'll be okay. And more kills yet, although I'm sure they are coming. And there's the bottom tower as well.
And there we go. With that, that'll even up the gold. Again, still 1k advantage in favor of Gamtee, but DK can easily make that up. Their comp does scale very well until late game. Again, Jace doesn't have a lot of power early, but as soon as he gets that tier stack in, should start to have some damage come out from those shock blasts.
And it's great that you mentioned team comp series. I certainly agree that Gamtee's late game looks quite strong here in comparison compared to DK's comp, but they have to be careful. If they fight without their ultimates, let me. Oh, he's actually got Johnny here as well. Maybe they're going to go in.
Nice
Does pop the equalizer. Really nice there, and Does going to pop through as well. The Harpoon does come in. Zed over the top will look for the first kill. Does Deathmark. Dodges most of the box, and there's Thresh going to get enough. The Rengar is that first kill. Zed's a little low, but Shadow's out, and that was beautifully played by Gamtee.
And really, it's kind of on the strength of Let Me. The fact that they're playing to how far ahead he is over that top lane. 115 CS to 88, a beautiful equalizer. Anytime Rumble's involved with the fight, they're automatically going to win unless they get a numbers advantage.
And very conveniently proving the point that I was just about to make before that happened. Gamtee's comp right now, given that we're kind of approaching the early stages of the mid-game, we're going to move through the next 10 minutes of mid-game or so. They can't fight without their key ultimates here with Zed's Deathmark and Equalizer down, but when they have them up, that's exactly the sort of play they can afford to make. They can get so aggressive and really stick it to DK, who are looking to get a win kind of within the next 10 minutes. That's where a lot of their power is going to come from, especially with that Jace pick.
You're absolutely right. The fact that Gamtee have that Rumble, he will be level 11, so he'll get the level 2 ultimate, and that's going to be a huge power spike for them. So within the next 5 minutes, they're about to go through massive power.
Yeah, got to be careful though. The Trinity Force has been finished for Corki. Ezreal not quite completed his yet either. Jay scaling up as well with the Muramana now. Going to get stacking on that item as well. And looks like Makai a little late on his Rod of Ages actually. Has about a minute left or so to make that a reasonable timing. But looks like he's going back to get it now. Yeah, there we go. It does pick it up. So DK now looking good, and it is really their time in the next 5 to 10 minutes to try and find a foothold back into this game, because they're actually behind here. And as you mentioned, their late game is not quite as good as Gamtee's.
It's not quite as good across the board because Rumble Zed are fairly amazing, although Zed looking for the 1v1 down on key here.
Yeah, Deathmark's going to go, and he's actually very low. Exhaust, so will make that very, very easy for Jace. And again, this guy's so sneaky. He just sneaks down the bottom side of the map and just loves killing people. Jumping out of brushes, killing people. That's what he does.
And he does make a clean getaway back to his side of the map. But as I was saying, the fact that Jace is going to find a really big power spike in about 10 minutes, likewise with Maokai, DK does have a window of opportunity here as far as like their champions in general, but their itemization, you know, 10, 15 minutes down the road is really when they're going to start to pick up. So super late game, I still think they have a fairly confident team comp, especially in the type of different play styles they can do. That it's kind of like a siege all engage comp, whereas I feel like Gamtee, it's a little bit more one-dimensional. They don't have the greatest wave clear, they don't have the greatest siege. They have decent poke between Ezreal and Kha'Zix, but not the best of both worlds.
It's funny, actually, because I was going to ask you about the split push potential. Because, of course, one of the best ways to break up any sort of big, heavy fight comp is to split off and try and break up the team into more manageable chunks. And Rumble makes small fights very manageable for your team if he has the equalizer up. So I wonder if maybe Zed is going to pick a lane to split push as well. So Gamtee definitely have to respect their win conditions in this game. But they're doing fine so far. They have a lead. They're going to try and press it. But, again, kind of showing that they're not super aggressive as a team. They're not pushing too hard. And there's K down the bottom, pushing the bottom tower already.
And exactly, you're just talking about the split push. Zed is all the way down there. The only thing that's concerning is that Jace already proved that if he gets the initial shock blast, that he can eliminate that. But here comes the next team fight.
Kha'Zix wants to go in. Maokai actually going to get knocked up there, but here's Rengar running in. They know he's around. He's going to pop in onto that. Looks like the carry. No, Kha'Zix going to get himself rumbled, but there's a kill coming from the equalizer as Rengar's going to be the first to go down. Tails actually exhausted. Has to be careful as Thresh goes down. That's 2-0 right now. Gamtee looking so strong already. Going to dive in onto those carries. There's yet another kill. 4-0. Can they make it a clean ace? They will, and make it look easy. Gamtee team fighting so well.
That was a huge fight for Gamtee right there, and again, the Rumble equalizer. That was a 4v5. Zed wasn't even involved until the back half of that when he got the death mark there, but it was already over. Let Me putting the team on his back as Gamtee marches towards Baron.
Yeah, and this is theirs, presumably. They don't even need the Blade of the Ruin King finished on their Zed to take it out. And everyone's just looking so strong right now. They're going to have to get a bit creative with the tanking, but they should be able to handle this. No one to steal it. There's the Baron as well. And Gamtee just playing so calm, despite the fact that this is their last chance to qualify for the LPL.
We are going to get the replay of that, so you do see that this, again, is a 4v5. You have the initiated from from Rengar, but look at that equalizer across 4 members of DK right here. Comes into the back line, has a beautiful flame spitter, as well as the overheat, and just tears through people.
Yeah, one of the nice things as well is that Janna positioned herself so well to not just give everyone a nice healing zone to fight through, but push back the Maokai to prevent any of that prevention. And Tail was able to kind of kite around the box, stay towards his Janna Monsoon like healing area, and just really take a very one-sided team fight there. That was beautifully played by Gamtee. I'm very impressed.
And again, this has kind of been the weird thing about Gamtee. They're known as being a very rotational-based team, but today, especially yesterday, they were very slow-paced, didn't have first blood, pre-15 minutes, very calm. Another great equalizer, though.
Equalizer going in again. There's the first kill. Thresh absolutely dead as Rengar getting chased by Kha'Zix now. He's actually 2 levels behind. He's going to go for the tower dive. Tower going to look aggressive as well, pops over the top. There is that kill, and Ezreal, unfortunately, doesn't even get an assist for it as he's chasing through, but another 2-0 Dragon not available. I believe that went to Gamtee, but it might have been stolen away by DK.
Just insane equalizer, not fighting a Rumble.
Yeah, this guy's really good at Rumble.
Just straight through that pathway, got everyone, rotates them into getting this mid-tier tower. So even though they didn't get the Dragon, I think it did go to DK, you are correct there, but...
And a huge lead, by the way, that we've opened up already. Almost 10,000 gold ahead for Gamtee. And this game is looking very one-sided, much like that last clean 5-0 team fight we just said. Key even, look how confident he is. Just wants to go in, pokes at that Thresh, does not commit. And I have to say, that move there, I think exemplifies a lot of what I'm seeing in this first game for Gamtee. You mentioned that they're more of a rotation team, not that aggressive for a Chinese team, which is a big thing, because that's something we normally expect, but they are playing very deliberately. They're playing with purpose, playing, you know, they're not super slow. They're not going full EDG and just farming all their lanes forever. So we've got to find another one. Jace forced to flash away there as Corki going to get Deathmark. Gets absolutely obliterated by Key. But Maokai will pick up the revenge kill now. Kha'Zix maybe going to go, and this could be a bit too deep. China with a great knockup. Can they move in? They find the equalizer as well. And there's 2 clean kills once again for Gamtee. Make it 3 as Maokai's going to go to them. They turn that 1Z kill into a 4-for-1 trade. What are they doing? This team, man.
That was a beautiful re-engagement from Janna right there, coming in with the Crucible to save Kha'Zix, allowing him to walk out of it. Again, another perfectly placed equalizer. I don't think I've seen him throw a bad one yet.
I think you should just say, and Rumble altered, and we'll assume that it was perfectly placed. So at this point, that's what every single one has been like.
Just disgusting. And they keep fighting in the jungle, getting these narrow corridors. I don't know what DK is thinking. You cannot fight Rumble in the jungle.
I'm hoping that if, let me Rumble again, that he actually switches to that skin and see if they pick it up. But guys, just don't do it. It's not okay. But for me, what's really impressive, and I saw this a lot on Friday actually, where Chinese teams they team fight on another level, it almost feels like, than the rest of the world. They're so aware of little things, cooldowns, interactions, what summoner spells are up, where champions are positioned, and when I look at Gamtee's comp, I look at this draft and be like, I feel like you guys just picked your favorite champions. But they're making this work at a 5v5 level just so beautifully.
You're absolutely correct right now. They've done a fantastic job in layering their ultimates, layering their compositions, and again, winning 4v5 a lot of these times. Zed, again, was completely removed from that fight. As soon as Corki came in, of course, he immediately turned on the death mark right there. But Key has kind of been doing his own thing, playing the high Pink Panther game in a couple of lanes, trying to create sneaky little opportunities, but all about that Rumble. 6-1 and 9.
Yeah, Let Me has just been let loose in this game. He is so fed. Massive score here. Building up towards a Rylaz, got his Sork Boots and the Liandry's, plus his Zhonya's Hourglass already finished at 21 minutes and 40 seconds. We've got maybe not that much of this game left. Jin Rumble's already acting like he's at 30, 35 minutes even. So looking at good here so far. And I love the fact that, yes, Key's kind of doing his own thing on Zed. I think that's what he wants. But his team always know where he is, and they're always there to protect him if he needs to. They're really good at actually just playing the map at this point. They actually are going to go for the full one, it seems like.
That's a great point. The fact that a lot of teams, when they do run the split push, China isn't very well known for its ability to execute this fairly well, but Gamtee especially, anytime Key is applying pressure or away from his team, they're always able to execute something underneath it. If he does get caught up, they make the rotation, they're able to clean up the fight. If he is applying the split push, they're applying pressure in other lanes. It doesn't go wasted.
And actually 1-3-1-ing actually with Kha'Zix down towards the bottom, just going to clear some more out for himself. So they're just opening up as much space on the map as they can. My personal question right now is Zed, who's looking nice as well. 6-3-3 for him with that score. Moby Boots, so he can really get around and play with his team. Plus Brutalize the last Whisper and the Blade of the Ruin King. Just so strong with basically effectively 3-item power spike here, although it's more like 2.5 items if you want to get super technical about what's happening. But if he can kill Maokai 1v1, DK are in so much trouble.
I actually think he can, especially because he has the double arm pen with the Bork Shred. I suspect that he'll upgrade his, oh, actually, no, he's going for a defensive item. I was going to expect him to actually upgrade his Brutalizer into a Ghost Blade, especially since he's liking to play with the Mobility Boot split push, and so to also get the extra utility of the speed up from the Ghost Blade. But looks like he's actually going to go for the MR.
I think that's a QSS, by the way, because it's kind of looking through. I'm like, there's a little bit of latent magic damage around. Corki does mixed damage. Maokai, again, kind of more of an AoE thing, but I think he just wants to make sure he can outplay anyone and always win his 1v1s and be really, really crafty in his team fights. I'm curious to see where that's going. We'll have to see, but other than that, it's just an embarrassment of riches across the board here for every single member of Team Gamtee. Ezreal as well with his Trinity Force, almost got a Bloodthirster, it looks like, potentially as that second item, but has a BF sword in his inventory ready to go. And Janna, this is me, this is the sign that they are ahead. Magi's is just hanging out with a Mikhail's Crucible.
Now, obviously, the Magi's works really well. It was popularized by FCZF when he started to play Janna in the LPL. The idea is that Janna is very hard to kill. She's really hard to lock down. And again, this Janna 1-1-14. You get the Magi stack or the assist if you place a shield on any of your opponents. So it's very easy to get these stacks up as well to keep them because she's so slippery.
And great 1-3-1 pressure here as well from Gamtee. Baron buff looks like it has timed out, so they won't have that advantage, but they've really just made sure to pressure every single lane. Keep your sons. Baron was a while ago, by the way. It just doesn't even matter at this point. It's respawning in 8 seconds. That's how behind and how quick this game is going. And Gamtee are applying so much pressure here. They just need one fight or one dive or one something. They break the base, and this game is pretty much over from that point.
Looks like they are going to start falling back for the Baron, perhaps looking for a pink or at least controlling the vision over. They do have a pressure point that they're playing within the bottom lane. There we go. Kazakh sleeping over the wall. He says, nope, we're going to start this right now.
I like that Zed's taking the blue as well, and I imagine he's going to rotate over towards that top side of the map to help his team, and really just being able to time, without a teleport, a lot of really strong movements. And now I love this as well. You have so many options. It's almost an option selecting league, which is kind of a weird thing to think about, where, okay, DK coming to defend as 5 members because they have to. They can't win a 4v5 if they engage unfavorably, just because of how strong Rumble is, and Zed immediately guns up the bottom lane to start split pushing again.
Having to send Maokai over there, he does have the teleport available, but now the question is, can this Zed 1v1 the Maokai? And if he can, it pretty much spells the end for DK here and now.
Yeah, they're going to lose a lot of their base, but actually are going to go in Rengar. Once in, they do find the front. No! Can't quite get it. Sony's does pull. What else? That was beautiful! Janna ultimate will not keep him alive for long enough, though. And there's 2 clean kills, but Thresh will go down. Tail will pick up that kill there. And DK hang on in this team fight for now. But Zed is rotating through. He's not going to be able to get anyone else. I would back off. Yeah, DK, like, that's it. We'll take our free kills. That's all we want.
That was the miracle DK needed to get their foot back in the door here. It doesn't put them back into control right here, but that was what needed to happen. They found the pick on Rumble before the equalizer could go down, and it stalled off the Baron. So you've had Gamtee setting up. We're either taking the inhib, or we're taking the Baron, or we're perhaps getting both. DK finds the miracle pick. They lose the Dragon, but the Baron and the inhib are still up.
Yeah, nice work from Gamtee to make sure they keep that gold even despite trading slightly unfavorably with DK. They'll take whatever gold they are gifted at this point in the game because there is very little left on this map that they are allowed to take. Like all the pressure that Gamtee is putting on them. It is, in fact, Bloodthirster first. Froskew, and I'm very curious on your thoughts on this particular build.
BT from the Ezreal?
Ezreal, yes, sorry.
It's just for trade and poke purpose. So you have to think, with the Iage, if he wanted to go that direction, or the Bork, it's looking for sustained fights. But the fact that Ezreal is so far behind, he's really just going to stack his poke, or poke from the, poke from the backline, since he's 1-0 and 10. If he had half of those assists and kills, he would be farther ahead. But again, it's about laying down the poke. You can't crit a tower. You're able to siege better with the Bloodthirster because it's just going to give you more flat damage. You have the shield. You're against a burst composition, so if Rengar tries to sneak to that backline and just assassinate him, he has the BT shield to go through as well.
And that's actually my favorite point about this whole thing, is that BT has almost evolved into a defensive AD carry item. And it's, if you're trying to be self-sufficient, I used to joke about it a year ago, actually, where Chinese would play Ezreal all the time, and they would constantly just be like, play these 4 super dive heavy like engaged champions, and then Ezreal would be like, figure it out, man. Whatever. And that's almost the comp that Gamtee built here. Everyone else wants to go in, wants to peel. They've got a lot of versatility and have shown that ability in team fights, that they can pull out very complex, intricate team fights and come out very far ahead. But Tail's kind of like, my team's leaving me alone. I'll just do the best I can to be self-sufficient.
And again, see, and this is what it's about. Sieging. Walking up to the tower. You can't crit a tower. There's no point to have an Iage if that's what you want. It synergizes really well with the Janna shield. Yeah,
that's a good point, actually, because they are making up for kind of a bit of lacking seed potential, I guess, in general. And DK, they are forced well and truly up against the back of this tower. Rengar has ulted, though, so they might be trying to make a play. This is hard for DK. They can't get too aggressive, but yeah, they know the ult's popped off. They're already backing off there, and DK, once again, waste a Rengar ult trying to go in, but they have very few options at this point in the game.
And exactly, Key coming up the mid lane, they might possibly look for a flank on him.
Nope, never mind. It looks like DK might be the ones getting flanked. In fact, Rumble will find some friends. Rengar goes down instantly to that damage. There's the box going to try and cut him up, but everyone dives in. Zed has found his way over. Corki cannot survive. Sorry, that's Thresh going down. Corki has booked it, leaving his teammates. But Kha'Zix will dive in on top. Ezreal, though, just stands there and pokes him in the face, and he'll go down. 3-for-0 tower dive there comes through for Gamtee, and they could break the base here now.
Another amazing Monsoon right there. What was beautiful about that team fight is Gamtee used the Monsoon to split up DK's forces. You actually had Maokai on the bottom side of the jungle, the rest of the team on the top side. So the Maokai ultimate completely meant nothing. And if you can't have a pick that strong, that's core, not involved in your team fights.
Yeah, and the Baron is going to be the response here for Gamtee, or the objective they take after they do come. DK actually looking for a steal, but they have no time at all. Nice tornado as well, kind of zone everyone out. If they were coming and they were a little late. Normally I would say obviously you want to take the towers. It's a permanent objective you can keep. They do not respawn, whereas Baron does. But in this instance, the death time is actually still quite short, given that we're not even 30 minutes into this game. That I do like Gamtee just falling back and taking the safe objective.
And again, 22-8 at a 30-minute game. This is almost a 20k advantage in favor of Gamtee. They can take anything they want on the map.
Yeah, and it is the kill assist there for Zed. He's got a pickaxe there as well, so he can build just so much AD. He is fed out of his mind at 7-3-5 with almost 250 CS. Key is looking good here for his team. Even Kha'Zix, actually, I just kind of glanced down. Finished his round once, plus has his 2.5 damage items as well with the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, the Brutalizer, and that Last Whisper. So everyone is looking strong. Even little Ezreal's been a bit behind, so almost completed his Last Whisper as well. Janna now with a needlessly large rod. Just wants to send a message to DK, I think.
It's all about the AP scaling on the shield right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It clearly works. It synergizes quite well with the Madrais. If it's a Rabadon that she's finishing, then there's some synergy there for sure with the percentage AP increase. And DK just like, man, what do we do? Equalizer actually almost tags Jace for the kill, but they don't get it. Tier 2 tower in the mid goes down there. Key working on the bottom lane as well. And whatever hope left in here for DK, they kind of have to pray for a mistake from Gamtee at this point, and they're actually going to go in. Looks like there's the first kill. Kha'Zix, no, never mind, that was Thresh. I'm sorry, friends, and now Zed going to dive in on the backline, trying to pick up Corki, gets the shuriken. Is his stealth back enough? It's almost enough to kill him, actually, but there's the kill. Jace will go down to Ezreal. There's Maokai falling as well. Corki's zoned out of the fight. The base is broken into pieces now by Gamtee, and DK, they're probably not going to lose the game here, but it does not look pretty at all.
At this point, DK is probably having the conversation of what is going to be next and how they're going to deal with the next game. Obviously, here comes the surrender. Obviously, the Rumble is going to be on the table and it should be taken off. The other thing that's really important to note is DK's top laner isn't really well known for his utility-style top laners playing the Maokai or something like that. So I feel like they need to get him back on these Jax picks, on these Aurelia picks, and look for carry.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Aurelia was banned as well, and I think that might stay consistent here with Gamtee's banning as well. And we were wondering what kind of game we were going to get for our first game of our last best of 3 here, and Gamtee looking very impressive. Again, not too aggressive, never pushing their luck in situations, playing quite reactively and just being very calm, but as soon as they got a lead, they slowly covered out, and that was honestly impeccable team fighting from Gamtee. I am, for the first time seeing his team, I am just blown away by how strong their team fought.
And again, it's all about the consistency. Gamtee has looked amazing today, but yesterday, completely different team, completely different style. So we'll see if they're able to keep with that, continue forward, and be the last team to qualify for the LPL, but don't go anywhere because we'll be right back.